not medical. He somehow discovers a dim-witted patient who now owns a cup holding his testicles. What the hell is with Florida, where all crazy shit seems to come from? A week won't pass by without lots of stories proving that Florida's dumb.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week of the Doe and 5-0 show. You're probably thinking to yourselves, why in the hell are they starting off with Florida?
Why are we starting out with Florida?
Every story I bookmark over the last week, Joe, came out of the great state of Florida. That's right.
We can't thank Florida enough.
You've been asking for it, and it's finally just naturally come here on its own. An entire show out of Florida.
Just Florida.
Just Florida.
Though California is probably begging to be there next, but just Florida today. We might have to start maybe doing a story every week about one story about each state. Like tomorrow or next week is Delaware. Just we'll have one stupid story. We all have stupid shit happen. Florida just more than
they just
the
take
rest
the cake,
of us.
Man.
They do. Thank you, Florida. Thank you once again.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into the headlines here, Joe. Headline reads: Florida man threatens nasty MFer for not flushing a toilet. There he is. I'm not saying he was right, but we should just say there was a little bit of aggression on both sides. He provided a written statement saying shit happened, according to the Pasco County deputies. Out of Hudson, Florida, a Hudson man was accused of pointing a machete at another man who did not flush the toilet, according to the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Keith Mounts, age 46, of Hudson, was charged with one count of aggravated assault. According to the arrest affidavit, deputies were called to a home in Hudson on Saturday. When they arrived, the complainant told them that Mounts pointed a machete in his face after telling the complainant to flush the toilet when he uses it. He told deputies that Mounts said he would chop him with the machete. Deputies said that they did find a machete laying in the front yard. Mounts told deputies that he was using the machete to defend himself against the complainant, but was unable to provide a reason that he was defending himself. There's no mention of what the man had eaten in the report.
Well, I'm a little confused. So is it his toilet? Whose toilet was it?
I believe the man that threatened him, if he didn't flush the toilet, threatened this guy, so he found the machete.
So the guy who didn't flush, was he using somebody else's toilet?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Well, then, screw him. Yeah, flush the damn toilet or I'm cutting you up. I agree with that guy. But I do have a problem with him throwing the machete in the front yard, getting rid of the evidence.
Yeah.
Or not having a better alibi.
Yeah.
I was in front. I was cutting some wood with it. Something. He had nothing. If you're going to lie, think ahead.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Florida man gets 30 months in prison after shooting himself while drinking.
That seems like double whammy there.
Out of Ocala, Florida, a judge sentenced a 37 Ocala man to 30 months in prison after he shot himself while drinking. Michael Buttafuoco was charged with possession of a firearm and ammunition as a convicted felon. Ocala police said that Buttafuoco told officers while being treated for a gunshot wound at a hospital that he'd been robbed at gunpoint and shot by an unknown assailant. After further investigation, police located Buttafuoco's car and saw the ammunition and shell casings through the car's window. When interviewed a second time, Buttafuoco admitted that he had been drinking in his car and accidentally shot himself.
See, and that's where he screwed up. Okay, once again, he lied. He didn't think ahead. You hide the ammunition. They have no reason to search your car, and you don't admit it.
Yeah.
You deny. I'd be a much better crook than most of these guys.
Well, in Buttafuoco's car, they found a semi-automatic handgun, 26 rounds of ammo, and multiple shell casings. At the time of the incident, Buttafuoco had 5 prior felony convictions, including possession of a controlled substance, theft by taking and fleeing and eluding a law enforcement officer. As a convicted felon, Buttafuoco is prohibited from possessing any firearms or ammunition under federal law.
Okay, and doesn't this go with exactly what you said? People that are illegally... They're not supposed to have guns, can still get them. And that just proves your point. It doesn't matter if you take away guns from everybody. Yeah. The bad people will always get them.
Well, no, they don't.
I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
You're hurting my feelings by saying that. I need a safe place. Okay, here we go. Report out of our favorite town of all, Joe, St. Lucie County.
What? Again? Again? Who's your friend that lives there?
Amy.
Hey, Amy, can you call our show? We want to know what the hell's going on over there. Or is this her here?
No, that is not Amy.
Oh, okay. Amy, please call us sometime. We need to talk to you. We need to get her to call and put it on the air. Just for the Florida segment.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. She lives in the majestical part of St. Lucie, though, apparently. So there
is no majestical part.
All right, out of St. Lucie. Woman arrested for chugging beer like Stone Cold Steve Austin, then assaulting her boyfriend.
Did she throw ketchup at him?
Florida man was just trying to help his girlfriend out. Cody Havens, age 26, thought Chastity Bodnar, age 23, drank too much, and out of concern for her well-being, he told her she was drinking too much. Considering how Chastity responded to Cody's lifestyle critique, it might just be as likely that Cody was tired of Chastity passing out on the couch, covered in Doritos and Papa John's garlic butter sauce, and then peeing on herself. Why is that?
I don't know why he would ever get sick of that. That sounds like a great weekend.
Well, upon hearing that she may have a drinking problem, Chastity, who was in fact drinking at the time, became furious and responded to Cody by throwing her phone and hitting him in the throat. Then she followed him out to the garage to their St. Lucie, Florida home, took 2 cans of beer, slammed them together Stone Cold style, and then began chugging. Cody later told police that Chastity proceeded to Stone Cold Steve Austin my ass, which, yes, she did. So do you know what that means?
I have no idea what that means.
Okay, Stone Cold was a very popular...
I know who he is.
Okay, so he was a big-time wrestler back in the 90s, right?
But what did he do with beer?
So I can play the video. I'm assuming that's what this video is going to show here. But Stone Cold, in a very redneck fashion, when he did something he was...
the risks.
When he did something he was proud of, he would take a couple beer cans like that and smash them together, and then just chug them. He just pour them all over his face and chug them.
Wow.
That was kind of one of his gimmicks back then. But
seems like a waste of beer.
But anyway, I guess that's what she was doing, and so that's why I said she stone cold my ass. So. Okay. Eventually, Cody was able to pin Chastity down and call the police. Chastity was arrested for a misdemeanor battery. She's booked into the county jail Saturday night and released Sunday morning. Free again to go full rattlesnake. That was his nickname on anyone who dared to question the way she lives her life. Cody, too, however, was arrested after police arrived for some reason that he tried to fight the cops when they got there. Found that he was also intoxicated at the time of the report. Here's hoping these two can work out their differences and fulfill their joint destiny of being that couple fighting viciously in the parking lot of a Bob Evans that other families have to tell their kids not to stare as they hurry to their own cars and get back to the highway to Disney World.
That is a great little note at the end of that story. So, all right. So, the assault was she threw the phone and it hit him.
Right in the neck.
Yeah, but I guess I always thought assault was... There's so many assault charges in Florida, and most of them seem pretty... I mean, if I get hit in the neck, it's going to hurt. Mm-hmm. I'd be embarrassed to file charges on that.
Well, in Florida, they have no shame.
It's different, especially not St. Lucie.
Broward County man arrested for pointing a laser at a helicopter. Lauderdale Lakes man was arrested after he shined a laser at a flying Broward County Sheriff's Office helicopter. The helicopter was in air Tuesday night in response to an alarm at Park Lakes Elementary. While in the air near an apartment complex, a subject could be seen on top of the floor shining a green laser at the helicopter. Ground units were dispatched to the building to search for the suspect. Stephen Rameau, age 35, was contacted and questioned by deputies. The helicopter crew confirmed Rameau was the individual who had pointed the laser at the aircraft. Rameau told officers he'd recently purchased the laser and was testing to see how far it would travel by shining it at the helicopter. He later admitted to seeing the laser on the side of the BSO helicopter. After seeing officers pulling up towards the apartment complex, Rameau said he threw the laser from the 4th floor where he was standing. Despite a search, they were unable to find it. Rameau was, in fact, arrested and charged with pointing a laser at a light at a driver or pilot.
So, if he had said it wasn't him, they couldn't have proved it. Once again.
Well, he admitted to it because he's an idiot.
Yeah. What? I mean, was that impeding them? Or did they just not like the fact that he was shining the laser?
I know, that's actually happened to me before. Even
if it was blinding
in my patrol vehicle, especially at nighttime, those can actually blind you.
Okay.
That's all you can see is those stupid laser lights. So, South Florida home to over 1,300 sugar daddies, according to report. Going back to Miami, which was referred to as the armpit of Florida last week in one of our news articles.
Yep.
When it comes to sugar daddies or mommies, South Florida is in fact the place to be.
That's where they all live.
According to a new report, Miami and its surrounding areas are home to over 1,300 sugar daddies, or, again, mommies. Areas in Miami-Dade with the most sugar daddies or mommies are downtown Miami with 312, South Beach at 310, Little Havana at 140, Biscayne Point 126, Eastern Shores 108, Highland Lakes 96, Design District has 88, Flagami 78, Coconut Grove 76, and Lagorche 60.
So when you register to vote, you have to write this down or what?
I don't know. Overall, Florida ranked high among states with the most sugar daddy personalities, placing 8th in the sugar daddies with 4.77 per 1,000 adult males.
What the hell is a sugar daddy personality?
Well, you would know.
I'm just old. That doesn't make me a sugar daddy. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, what was it last week? They ranked almost at the bottom of most hospitable places to be, and now they're ranking towards the top with most sugar daddies.
Sugar daddies, yeah.
Oh, no, sugar daddies, I always think of like an old guy with a bunch of money, and he has a girl that's barely legal, maybe sometimes not legal. And
so, like my wife.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See,
that's where you're going
daddy.
with that. All right.
Florida. Next, moving on, drunk driver offered cops a bet on how high her blood alcohol content would register.
Wouldn't that make you laugh? Say, hey, let's take a bet. I'll bet it. So give you an over/under on it.
Well, Mary Westerland, age 62, was nabbed late Monday evening.
She doesn't seem all upset, does she?
No, she looked pretty happy about it.
It's a nice picture of her.
She was nabbed near her home in Florida's The Villages retirement community. Cops approached Westerland's Acura after receiving a report of a drunk female being present at the fire station. Westerland, according to the police report, was impaired and had bloodshot glassy eyes and heavily slurred speech. As she screamed at a sheriff's deputy, the officer detected a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from her breath. When police sought to place her in a patrol car, Westerland, pictured above, reportedly struggled with the deputy and announced she was not going to jail. After being driven to the county lockup, Westerland submitted 2 breath samples, but not before offering a police technician a 25-cent Rager Joe. Westerland, who was convicted of drunk driving in 2015, estimated she would blow 0.190 BAC, that's blood alcohol content. Legal blood limit alcohol content is 0.8. The intoxilizer operator, who did not accept the 2-bid offer, subsequently had Westerland provide samples that registered blood alcohol content at 0.229 and then 0.210.
Oh, she undershot, but going over you lose, so she did well.
Westerland was charged with drunk driving and resisting law enforcement, both misdemeanors. She was released from custody the following afternoon after posting a $3,000 bond.
I think it's funny. She wasn't hurting anybody. Wouldn't that be great? Price is Right. Everyone has to take a few shots, and then they have to guess an over-under on their breath. That's great. That's really funny. And she seemed like she had pretty good humor about it.
Yeah.
He does not look like he would have good humor.
No, he does not. 48-year-old Titusville man was arrested Tuesday afternoon after being accused of flashing a badge in an attempt to retrieve a discount on food at a local McDonald's restaurant.
Okay, stop. You want a discount for your food, and you go to McDonald's.
Police said they were called shortly after 1 p.m. to the restaurant after a manager said the man flashed a badge trying to receive a discount. The manager said it was not the first time the man done so, according to the arrest report. Investigators said Albert James McDaniel was stopped for tinted windows while driving away from the restaurant. Police say he handed a police officer a wallet containing a U.S. Corrections extradition officer badge with an expiration date of December 31st, 2020. The report said that McDaniel gestured toward the badge and asked for professional courtesy in reference to the traffic stop. McDaniel said he was on duty for 3 weeks and off duty for 3 weeks and that his vehicle's license plate would trace back to the sheriff's office. The report said that he told the officer that he had asked the McDonald's employee if he could receive a discount if he were wearing a uniform, but he did not display a badge. McDaniel told the office he worked for U.S. Corrections but was collecting workers' compensation payments and was currently on light duty. Police said they had received a previous report about him displaying law enforcement credentials at other restaurants in an effort to obtain discounted prices. The officer said he called a Prisoner Transportation Services of America, and an employee said Albert used to work for the company and he had credentials in 2018, but was terminated last July and was supposed to surrender his credentials.
Oops.
Albert was then arrested on charges of falsely impersonating a police officer. McDaniel admitted to lying to the officer and said he has not worked for the U.S. Corrections since February and that he asked for professional courtesy to avoid a ticket. He told the officer he had previously tried to receive a discount at Outback Steakhouse.
Okay, that's all right.
McDaniel was booked into the Brevard County Jail on charges of falsely impersonating a police officer. Hey, man. Maybe he needed tough times. He hasn't worked since February.
Do you get discounts a lot? It's not a big thing anymore, is it?
No, at least not around here.
When I was a kid, I remember the police used to get a lot of discounts all over the place. But I think part of that's because the small businesses, especially, they're cutting their margins so much.
This one's actually out of Indianapolis, but it involves basically a Florida woman.
We're hitting both then.
So a little bit of home front here.
Right.
Secret Service investigation into Indiana credit card fraud lands a Florida woman in prison. Florida woman has been sentenced to 5 years in prison after a joint investigation by the Secret Service and the Carmel, Noblesville, and Westfield police departments. According to a U.S. Department of Justice release, Anna Alvarez, age 55, from Miami, was convicted of 13 counts of credit card fraud and identity theft. Apparently she didn't hook up with one of those sugar daddies. The Department of Justice.
She's 55.
The Department of Justice said Alvarez was part of a ring of thieves who traveled from Florida and Indiana to commit credit card fraud by purchasing compromised credit and debit card numbers on the internet. The group also used skimming devices to steal credit and debit card account information from victims in central Indiana, making more than $50,000 in purchases. The U.S. Attorney's Office is committed to prosecuting those individuals who engage in fraudulent activity, specifically those individuals like Alvarez, who brazenly traveled across state lines to commit credit card fraud and identity theft. Andrew Champion, Assistant Special Agent in charge of the U.S. Secret Service Indianapolis field office, thanked the local police departments for their cooperation and partnership in the case. Credit card fraud and identity theft investigations remain a top priority for the Secret Service. We are committed to protecting our nation's financial institutions and citizens of Indiana. Alvarez will also receive 3 years of supervised release after her sentence and pay $52,632.15 in restitution.
That'll never get paid.
Like, where's that going to come from?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Supervised. So someone's going to babysit her? Or she's supposed to check in, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times those probation officers will just kind of pop in unexpected at your workplace or your home, and
she's not going to work. She's not going to tell you where she's living.
Well, that should be a part of her release. Is
she has to get a job.
She has to get a job.
Wow.
Woman taken on chase when their first date decides to flee a traffic stop. That's right. Out of Palm Coast, Florida, a woman who went on a first date with a man ended up on a chase after he took off during a traffic stop. The Flagler County Sheriff's deputies used stop sticks to disable a car that fled a traffic stop in Palm Coast at about 2 a.m. last Thursday. Officials approached only to discover that the driver had bailed out of the car into the nearby woods and left the passenger to face the consequences.
That was a date?
It's a hell of a first date, right? On a body camera, the woman could be seen heard telling authorities that the only thing the man said was that he did not have a driver's license before he ran off. According to authorities, the woman had just met the Orlando area man on a dating website and stopped at a Palm Coast Denny's for dinner before heading back to her house. Yeah, he sprung for Denny's. When the deputy tried to stop the vehicle for a tag violation, the date told the woman he'd go to jail, so he took off. Authorities said the man was driving erratically and over the speed limit. The woman told officials she was scared and she did not know his last name.
Yeah, right.
Deputy said the same woman whose date went wrong on Thursday was the victim in a different and violent incident also involving a man last month. During that incident, a man the woman was seeing but attempted to get away from at a Bunell store, threw himself on the vehicle, shattered her windshield, and then attacked her when she got out. The woman was knocked unconscious during that one. In Thursday's incident, the man did not hurt the victim, but he did disappear into the nearby woods. Investigators think he was running from more than just a suspended license and believe he could be hiding more than what meets the eye in his criminal background. He is yet to be located.
She doesn't pick him well.
No.
It's like a father's worst nightmare.
Yeah. Well, Joe, we're going to touch on the last story here today, and it's inspired your genius song from this week.
I think it was one of my better songs. I really do. Not the singing, but I thought the words were.
Yeah, singing's bad every time. So.
Yeah.
Florida man performs do-it-yourself castration on a man with a unique fetish in the most nuts story of the year.
Oh, that's terrible.
I actually did make sure this one was real because it just didn't read real, but this actually happened.
I don't even understand this because what kind of weird person likes to do something like this, and what kind of weird person says, okay, you can do it to me.
Let's do this. Just before midnight on Sunday, August 18th, the deputy responded to a home on O'Day Road in Sebring, Florida, after a 911 hang-up. These are pretty routine, deputies say, and they get many of them per shift. Most of them don't make the cut when it comes to be memorable. This one, however, will hang around in everybody's memory for a while. When the deputy arrived and knocked on the door, it was answered by 74-year-old Gary Van Buttafuoco. He told the deputies that he had just performed a castration on a man, and to say the least, Buttafuoco had dropped the ball on this one.
Oh, no.
Deputies found a man on a bed with a towel over his groin, which was bleeding heavily. Nearby, there's a pink container which held 2 body parts that had recently been much closer to the victim. The victim was taken to the hospital and was later flown to a regional medical center. He is listed in stable condition at the time of the report. The room was set up like a surgical center with medical equipment and painkillers. There was also a camera set up to record the procedure. Ouch. Buttafuoco told deputies that he had met the victim on a website on the dark web called unish.com, which is for people who have a castration fetish. So there you go. It's an actual fetish.
Why? That's weird. Yeah. That's one of the weirder things from Florida.
Well, he told the victim that he had experienced on animals before, and even removed one of his own testicles back in 2012.
What?
He told deputies he had tried to perform the procedure on a victim a week earlier, but when he tried to sanitize the area, something came up and the procedure had to be delayed.
I don't even know. I don't want to know what that meant.
He also said he had done a similar procedure on a man in a local motel a few years ago, and that turned out pretty much like this one did, but he couldn't remember the other man's name. That man went to the hospital, but law enforcement was not notified. Buttafuoco was arrested Monday and charged with practicing medicine without a license resulting in bodily injury, which is a second-degree felony in Florida. His bond was set at $250,000. Anyone that does have information about Buttafuoco is asked to contact Detective St. Laurent at 863-402-7250.
Okay, so he tried this, some guy in a hotel room, and it went like this, which means he didn't change anything in how he did it. Okay, this didn't work. Let's do it again exactly the same way and see if we get a different result. Yeah. Is that was that what he told him when the guy got up on the operating table? Yeah, I did this last week. Didn't work out. I'm going to try the same thing again. What do you say?
Well, hey,
all right.
If you jack up a donut, you think, I'm going to try it this way this time, right? Same thing.
I'm not going to do it the same way. I'm going to do something different. That didn't rise. Let's try it a different way.
Sound like something rose the week before. Okay, well, that's all we got for this week in Florida and all of our news all together. We're not even talk politics this week. We didn't have anything too controversial going on. So, Joe, I thought we'd finish things up by touching close to home here in the Andrew Luck unexpected retirement and what that means to the city of Indianapolis going forward.
Oh, all right.
Stay tuned.
I'm surprised by all this. All right.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the last segment of today. We're skipping the politics this week, and we're going to talk about something that kind of shook up the state of Indiana just a few days ago when Andrew Luck, the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts, suddenly retired, Joe. Kind of caught everybody off guard. Unfortunately, the Colts fan base that was at the preseason game when this happened, when it was kind of unexpectedly announced, I think news broke via Twitter.
Right.
And, of course, everybody's socially connected, and all of a sudden, boom, everybody's got the news from a reporter that Andrew Luck's announcing his retirement at the age of 29 from the NFL. I don't know if you saw the news clips or not, but basically when Andrew was walking out of the stadium tunnel after the game, he was getting booed basically out of the state of Indiana.
People are writing loser on cups and throwing them at him.
Yeah, and, I guess I can see both sides of it, I guess.
Hopefully that was just a knee-jerk reaction, and it's not how they really felt. That seemed pretty petty.
It is very petty, and it's the people that are actually diehard Colts fans. I wouldn't like to think that they would behave in that way. Typically when you go to a preseason game, a lot of that's not necessarily your hardcore fan base. That's a lot of times people that maybe can't afford to go to the regular season games because the preseason tickets they go for about nothing. So that's a lot.
Who goes to a preseason game and why?
I can't even stand to watch them on TV. They're so bad. But I'd rather go watch a middle school football game than preseason NFL football, I think. But yeah, he's 29 years old, Joe. 7 years of his career. He had a 7-year career, all of them spent here in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he played, well, not obviously, but for those of you unfamiliar, he played for Stanford University.
He's a smart man.
Very intelligent human being. He was named the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy in 2010 and 2011, and was the Offensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12 Conference also in 2010 and 11. CBS Sports draft analyst Rob Rang called Luck the best prospect that he had ever scouted. He had a lot of hype coming in, and obviously, you know, if you look back to when he was drafted in the NFL, there was a lot of drama because
Peyton Manning
was still the man here in Indianapolis.
Right, but he had that neck injury.
Jim Irsay, who's the owner of the Colts, kind of sent Peyton out to pasture before Peyton was ready to go. And
that was a tough decision. Okay, apparently they didn't feel they could afford both quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. The ideal scenario, Peyton, you've got a couple years left. We're going to bring Luck in. He's too good to pass up right now. You play out your career here, and when you're ready, Luck will step in. But it's just not how it works anymore. So it was one or the other, and I never really thought Irsay did the wrong thing with there. I mean, he's done a lot of wrong things. But, I mean, Peyton played well for Denver. He played 3 years, right?
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years.
And 2 years he looked pretty good, but their defense was always tough. Third year, their defense was really good. He looked like shit. He was terrible at it a lot. It was painful to watch.
And that was the year that they won the Super Bowl.
And that's the year they won the Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, when he was in his prime, though, I grew up a Packers fan. I did see Bart Starr play. I saw Brett Favre play. I've seen Aaron Rodgers play. I've never seen a better quarterback than Peyton Manning, though. And I've seen Montana. I've seen Marino. I've seen Kelly. All these guys. Peyton Manning was easily the smartest quarterback I'd ever seen. Easily, along with Marino, not the one I wanted to see tuck the ball and run. But he didn't have to. He knew where everyone was. Anyway, I didn't see any problem with them taking Luck. I thought maybe that's something they just had to do. It was a terrible thing, but it had to happen. Luck was a good quarterback for the Colts. They've had some crappy offensive lines, and he still did well.
Well, and you could say that even when Peyton was in his prime. I mean, the man used to run for his life on a regular basis. And
well, when you say run.
Well, he did, as best as his ability.
I didn't think they had terrible offensive lines.
It was never the greatest.
Now, his first couple of years, that poor man suffered.
Yeah.
But he got it together. Man, he was good.
Well, and Andrew, when he had his press conference, he said, "This is not an easy decision. Honestly, it's the hardest decision of my life, but it is the right decision for me. For the last 4 years or so, I've been in this cycle of injury, pain, rehab, injury, pain, rehab, and it's been unceasing, unrelenting, both in season and off, and I felt stuck in it. The only way I can see out of it is to no longer play football. I've been stuck in this process. I haven't been able to live the life I want to live. It's taken the joy out of the game, and after 2016, when I played in pain and was unable to regularly practice, I made a vow to myself that I would not go down that path again. I now find myself in a similar situation, and the only way to move forward for me is to remove myself from football and the cycle that I am in. I've come to the proverbial fork in the road, and I now vow to myself that if I will not do it again. I've chosen me in a sense. This is very difficult. I love this team. I love my teammates, the folks in our building, the fans, the game of football, and as a part of this team, as a member of this team, because of how I feel, I know I'm unable to pour my heart and soul into this position, which would not only make me sell myself short, but the team in the end as well. It's sad, but I have a lot of clarity in this. It's been a difficult process, but my wife, Mr. Ballard, Mr. Irsay, and his family, and Frank Reich, and I have been incredibly helpful and supportive, and I am so grateful for them. As I told the guys in the locker room, it's been the honor of a lifetime to represent the Horseshoe and the city of Indianapolis, both on and off the field. To Mr. Irsay and his family, I thank you so much. I am grateful to have been drafted here. Your unwavering support has been very appreciated. Andrew Luck has been nothing but the face of class in his time here in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he has not been, unfortunately for him and for the fan base, he's not been a durable quarterback. He's been very injury prone. That season he was talking about in his quote, I believe that's when he was playing with a, what was it, like a ruptured kidney or lacerated kidney or something crazy like that.
Yeah, the guy's been in a lot of pain.
He's tough. He's you know, like you said, and he has too. He's been running for his life. I've never understood that about Jim Irsay, you know, because I remember watching it. Even though Peyton Manning could light teams up with his passing abilities, it was not uncommon for him to do that on the run, much like we saw out of Andrew Luck during his years here. And, you know, if you're going to spend all these millions and millions of dollars on a top-tier quarterback, why in the hell wouldn't you put an offensive line in front of him to protect him and your investment and the future of your team?
Well, there's a lot to it. Did the running backs pick up a blitz? Did rookie quarterbacks tend to hang on to the balls a little too long? He didn't get beat up too much last year. His first couple of years, I think he set his record first year, sacks.
Yeah. Well,
honestly, I can see the guy getting healed. I don't think he's ever healed from anything he's ever had wrong with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he takes 2 years and he actually completely heals. I'd be surprised if he didn't want to come back to football.
And, you know, and I don't have that article bookmarked, unfortunately, but Irsay had even made the comment where the door is not closed on Andrew Luck ever coming back. And he's still a young man. I mean, he's only 29 years old.
Right.
You know, he takes a season or two off. He gets himself healthy.
Really, for a quarterback, he's just getting into his prime.
Yeah. And, I mean, Lord knows he's got the brain for it. It's just a matter of his body
smart.
catching up.
Yeah.
And, you know, the guy that I quoted earlier is saying he's the smartest quarterback he's not the only guy that said that. Just, I mean, even quarterbacks, you know, your Elways and your Mannings.
Well, because he doesn't just have the cerebral part down.
Right.
He's also very physically gifted. I don't think a lot of people knew his scores in the combines were the second highest, and I can't remember. There was somebody else. There was a real stud in there that year, and he was right behind him. And there's several things he beat him on.
Yeah.
And was it Cam Newton? Maybe
it might have been.
But
that guy has nowhere near the natural talent that Andrew Luck has had.
Well, he physically, he doesn't have the arm or the football smarts, I guess is what you'd say. But yeah, that's the only thing I can think, because I know the Colts let him keep a signing bonus, which they could have taken part of it back. And you got to think that the reason for that, it's not because Jim Irsay is the most altruistic owner there is out there. I think part of it had to be, and there might even be a wink and a handshake going on. If you're ready to come back, just come back here.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, let's say the guy does come back. I can't see it out of his personality from what we've seen all these years that we followed his career, not even here, but even in Stanford when he's in the limelight there. He's always been so soft-spoken and polite and elegant in the way he speaks and everything.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it became a circus show like your man, Brett Favre, right? He was the man for Green Bay for a long time.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like the Packers, man, did I love to watch Brett Favre play.
I'll tell you what, you didn't know if he was going to win that or lose it, but he was going to do it.
But, I mean, I can't really see Andrew doing the same path of Brett, where I'm retired. Nope, I'm going to go play for the Jets. Well, I'm retired. Nope, I'm going to go play for the Vikings.
Yeah, but with Favre, it was all. I think a lot of his was staged.
Well, that's what I mean. It became a show.
I don't think Luck is staging this. I think he really is burnt out. He is tired. He wants to heal up. That's what I'm saying. Once he's healed up and he's not in that terrific pain, obviously to be at that level, you're very compassionate about this sport. You're very competitive. I don't think you lose that. I think you get better. And how many athletes retire and they just long for going back to that game, but they can't because they're not physically able. This man's going to be physically able. Very seldom do players retire before they should. Mm-hmm. Barry Sanders is one of them. But I don't know. I might be completely. I don't know Andrew Luck. We've never talked, but I can't help but to think that door is just a little open.
Well, and we've seen the uproar. Of course, there's been the burning of the jerseys and
That's so stupid.
fans crying out loud that they want their money refunded for their season tickets. And I just seen where I believe it was Matt Overton, who's a former kicker here in Indianapolis. He has offered to buy back any season tickets that anyone, a disgruntled fan base, doesn't want anymore, and he's going to donate them to Riley's Children's Hospital.
Well, good for him.
So, I mean, that's the type of things you like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew was very involved with Riley's Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
Much like Peyton, who founded the Children's Hospital, Peyton Manning's Children's Hospital, part of St. Vincent when he was here.
Right.
Still here to this day.
Yep.
It's things like that to me that make the role models that we like to see in professional sports now.
Right.
And it seems to be more and more rare as time goes on that you see guys. And, he's not out there looking for the recognition or anything like that. He just does it
he's
because
very
it's the right thing to do.
soft-spoken, right.
So.
But, on the flip side, I'm defending him for all this stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
At the flip side, if he knew this was an option, if he knew that this might be coming, should have been addressed before the draft. Now, I don't think there are any great quarterbacks available.
Yeah.
But maybe they'd have kept their eyes open. Josh Rosen, I can't remember. He was on the trading block, and he looked like he was going to be really good. The Colts might have been interested in something like that. They didn't know they needed a quarterback.
Right.
So that I can see why people feel a little disgruntled.
I get it. The timing's absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, it really is.
This is something he's been thinking about for a while. So
and
I completely agree.
He should have made that known to the organization.
Even if there was an inkling of a chance of him, hanging it up, he should have let them know that it might be time to be looking for another quarterback. Because we talked about going back to when I was talking about we're pushing Peyton Manning out, we're going to throw Andrew Luck to the Wolves right away.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the template that should have been followed because it was so successful is for your team when they drafted Aaron Rodgers and he was learning behind Brett Favre. For a while.
Nobody learns behind Brett Favre. I would imagine any coach in the world says, "Okay, see what Brett did?
Yeah,
don't do that. Don't ever do that." But I see what you're saying.
But
it gave him a chance to mature, and he could see what a defense can do in the professionals. Yeah. I understand completely.
I've never.
But for some reason, that didn't seem like an option that year, and I don't know if it's because of the time difference, but I don't know if it was a salary thing.
Well, they couldn't afford to pay Peyton's salary and draft Andrew and get him signed to the contract.
That's what I was thinking. So now, if you have one or the other. I think they made the right decision.
What did Andrew do here?
Well,
I mean, he's a great human being. He won a handful of games the first couple of years,
and he did really well. And the Colts were actually picked as one of the favorites for the Super Bowl this year.
We'll never know.
No, we won't. But that's a chance. I mean, it's a huge dice game.
Yeah.
With all this stuff, the drafting and the development, and hindsight being 20/20. If they kept Peyton and not drafted Luck, Peyton's been retired now for a couple of years. Peyton was no good his last year in. He was. I love the guy. I think he's a great man. I think he was the best quarterback, but he wasn't a good quarterback at that last year. So if they hadn't taken Luck, then what? Would they have waited till the next year? What would they have done? So
I don't know.
In a good scenario, Luck stays healthy and maybe they get to the Super Bowl this year. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I think his timing was terrible, though, and I can see why fans are a little upset about that. But you can't boo the man. And you know what? He's 29 years old.
Yeah.
You got to remember, 29 years old for a boy, we're stupid. We're stupid until early 30s. And now you got to take a guy who's probably been a football god his whole life.
Yeah.
And he's been coddled. And he's been, he's smart. He did well in school and stuff like that. But, he's been given privileges other people didn't get. And now you're telling him to do, I don't know. So, like I said, it could be a little more rash than what people think.
Well, how about a conspiracy theory for you, Joe? His dad, Oliver Luck.
Isn't he going with the USFL or something?
He was named last year. They announced they're bringing the XFL back. Do you remember the
XFL? That's it. Okay.
So that's the brainchild of one Vincent Kennedy McMahon, who is also the brainchild of what you know now as the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
XFL was popular for a year, so it had a lot of buzz around it.
I'll tell you what. You ever watch one of those games?
I did.
They're very interesting.
They're different.
They're fun.
Ratings weren't where they needed them to be, and it only lasted a couple of years, I believe. But Vince has decided to give that another go. He's dumping a bunch of his personal money into it, but he has named Oliver Luck the commissioner and CEO of the XFL. So is there anything more wrestling storyline based than Vince McMahon going out to the 50-yard line and saying, and the starting quarterback for whatever the hell team it is, Andrew Luck, and then the crowd goes crazy, right? And the Colts go, what the hell just happened?
And he gets hurt on his first play, and
somebody waxing with a chair or something crazy.
I just heard that this morning. I would be very disappointed if he tried something like that. I can't imagine. He seems too classy for that. But
it's just a funny conspiracy theory, but you never know.
No.
So, I wish Andrew nothing but the best of luck. He's always been the face of class. Like I said here in Indianapolis,
right.
Yeah, his timing was really poor, in my opinion.
I think so too.
But if he mentally feels and physically feels, it sounded like a lot of it was mental. That he just can't, he's not happy and he can't do it anymore, then by all means step away, because you're not going to, you got to leave something, a part of yourself available for the rest of your life. He's got his future family to think about, and if he's mentally not there for his wife and his kids, it's not going to work. You can say the same thing about my line of work. You see so many negative things on such a regular basis. There's guys that don't make it to their pension because they can't do it anymore. So
right.
I get it, and I wish him nothing but the best of luck. And maybe one day we'll see him suit back up again. You never know.
Yeah.
That's all we got for this week's show. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Product, man? You didn't pay for the last one. Come on, man. It's been 24 hours. You got my powder? Hey, he didn't pay again! Damn it, you never refused.